Alright. My hair look crazy right now. Hold on. Anyway, we got crimes of the week. This was in February though. This was like last month. Unhinged V-Day murder puppy. V-Day murder puppy. Let's see. I gotta get my
Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone.
Authorities in Volusia County, Florida say that an angry young woman's plans to get revenge on an ex-boyfriend backfired spectacularly this week after she was not only caught in the act, but she also ended up making a massive mistake. The whole thing began sometime in the early morning hours of February 26th when Volusia County police interrupted 18-year-old Evelina Fabianski and a 16-year-old accomplice while they were in the middle of vandalizing a vehicle. The pair of teens were in a residential area of the city of Deltona where they had allegedly covered a black Infiniti sedan with eggs and yellow spray paint. According to reports, the whole thing was part of a revenge plot against Fabianski's ex-boyfriend, who lived on the street in question. I'm going to assume the man's name is Jason, since this was one of the things spray painted onto the vehicle, along with smiley faces and other random words, including devil. Apparently, Fabianski was mad because Jason owed her $700. The thing is, though, Fabianski had made a pretty big mistake. You see, this wasn't Jason's car. The vehicle reportedly belonged to another random resident on the street. If this wasn't bad enough, when police caught Fabianski and her 16-year-old accomplice, they were in possession of a whole bunch of open alcohol and more than 20 grams of marijuana. Since Fabianski was driving, that means that on top of other charges she is now facing, she was also slapped with a DUI. In body cam footage, police seem genuinely baffled by the teen's stupidity. At one point, an officer tells the suspects, quote, "You really need to try harder and to try to be sneaky because you're god-awful."
You guys spray painted the wrong damn car. Yeah, it's that neighbor's car.
According to reports, Fabianski has now been charged with criminal mischief, contributing to the delinquency of a child, illegal possession of alcohol, and of course, DUI. Her 16-year-old accomplice, who claimed not to be involved despite being covered in yellow paint, was cited for marijuana possession.
That wasn't that bad. I mean, they just spray painted the car. The wrong car, but nothing much.
Representatives from the U.S. Marshal Service say that a dangerous fugitive is finally behind bars this week, more than 40 years after he was accused of bombing a house, a crime that nearly led to his ex-wife's death. The whole thing began one day back in 1982, when then 33-year-old Stephen Craig Campbell allegedly left a toolbox rigged with explosives on the front doorstep of his ex-wife's boyfriend's house in Sweetwater County, Wyoming. After spotting the toolbox, Campbell's ex-wife unwittingly opened it up. The resulting blast ripped off one of her fingers and sent shrapnel flying everywhere. It also started a fire that destroyed the house as well as a neighboring residence. Campbell was quickly linked to the crime and arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder. However, while awaiting trial, he was granted bail. As soon as he was released, he disappeared. A warrant was issued for Campbell's arrest, and his name was soon added to the U.S. Marshal's most wanted list. However, for decades, no trace of him could be found. Authorities now say that's because in 1984, he stole the identity of a former classmate named Walter Lee Kaufman. Campbell and Kaufman attended the University of Arkansas together, though Kaufman had died shortly after graduating in 1975. After successfully applying for a passport under Kaufman's name, but using his own photos, Campbell was able to obtain other pieces of identification in multiple states. He eventually moved to the town of Weed, New Mexico, where he bought a 44-acre compound using his fraudulent identity. The scheme worked perfectly for many years, and Campbell was even apparently able to obtain more than $140,000 in Social Security benefits. It wasn't until 2019 that things finally started to unravel. According to reports, after renewing his New Mexico driver's license with a passport under Kaufman's name, agents from the National Passport Center's Fraud Prevention Unit noticed some inconsistencies. They began investigating, and after some time, they were able to uncover the fraud. It wasn't until they finally got to the bottom of everything, though, that they realized the person behind the crime was actually a dangerous wanted fugitive. A couple of weeks ago, on February 19th, a team comprised of U.S. Marshals, the FBI, and local law enforcement agencies raided Campbell's New Mexico property. When they arrived, he reportedly grabbed a scoped rifle and took up a concealed and elevated position, refusing to cooperate. Fortunately, after deploying flashbang devices, authorities were able to end the situation without any shots being fired. It's a good thing, too, as Campbell's weapon was apparently loaded with high-powered rounds capable of piercing body armor. A further search of the property reportedly turned up a cache of nearly 60 weapons and much more ammunition. Now, Now that Campbell is finally in custody, officials say that he will be facing...
How do you even get in possession of it? Don't they do like background checks for like those types of like ammunition, like certain type of guns? You gotta get like background checks. And since it was a stolen identity, they couldn't like pull it up from like the background. But I guess they would be background the dead suspect. So, but wouldn't the background check pull up that he's using like a dead person? Like this person is dead or something? I don't know how they do the background checks, but
federal fraud charges in New Mexico. He could be facing up to 10 years in prison for these crimes alone, but after these court proceedings, he is expected to be returned to Wyoming, where he will stand trial in the original 1982 bombing case.
Authorities in the city of Monroe, North Carolina say that a 52-year-old woman is facing serious charges this week following a disturbing incident in which she allegedly trapped her boyfriend in a storage unit for days without food or water. The nightmarish situation began sometime on February 20th when the suspect, 52-year-old Robin Renee Deaton, went to a storage facility with the unidentified male victim on the 1900 block of Old Charlotte Highway. At some point while they were there, the couple reportedly got into an argument. That's when Deaton allegedly asked her boyfriend to get something for her from the back of the unit. When he did as she asked, she locked him inside, telling him, quote, "That's what you get," before leaving him there entirely. It wasn't until 5 days later, on February 25th, that anyone figured out what had happened. That's when the male victim finally managed to find his cell phone in the dark and crowded unit and used it to call for help. Here's part of the man's harrowing 911 call.
I've been locked in the storage unit for about a week now, and I just now found my phone. She double locked my lock, and I don't know how she put me in here, but she put me in here. I just need out of here. I just can't breathe. I haven't had nothing to drink or anything.
Thankfully, police were able to respond to the scene quickly after the man's call for help. He was taken to a local hospital to be treated for dehydration and has since been released. If you're wondering why it took so long for the man to be able to call for help, apparently the storage unit he was in was quite packed with items, and it took him a long time to find his phone in the pitch black mess. Police referred to the container as a, quote, hoarder's paradise type situation, stating that things started falling out of the unit as soon as they responded to the scene and opened it up. As for Robin Deaton, she was quickly tracked down and arrested after all of this. While the victim seems to have been incredibly charitable to her, saying he's not sure if she left him there on purpose, police see the situation very differently. A spokesperson for the Monroe Police Department stated, quote, "We believe that she truly intended for him to die in that storage unit with no food and no water, no outside source of anything. She knew she locked him in there and never went back to check on him." They also speculated that the man might be a victim of ongoing domestic violence. Deaton is now facing charges of first-degree kidnapping and attempted first-degree murder.
Authorities in Princeton, New Jersey say that they are working to piece together the details of a deeply unsettling crime this week after a man allegedly murdered his younger brother and a family pet inside of a luxury apartment building. The whole thing began just after 11:15 p.m. on February 22nd when 911 dispatchers received a call about a fire and a dead body at a property on Michelle Mews. When officers arrived at the high-end apartment and condo complex, which is located just minutes away from Princeton University, they were met by a disturbing scene. Inside a unit there was the body of 26-year-old Joseph Hurtgen. Joseph had suffered apparent lacerations as well as blunt force trauma. Disturbingly, a dead cat was also located inside the residence, which had reportedly been set on fire. Attention quickly turned to Joseph's older brother, 31-year-old Matthew Hurtgen. Matthew was apparently the person who had called 911 that night and was also inside the property when police arrived. Investigators now allege that Matthew killed his brother and the pet cat with a knife and golf club. Unfortunately, that's not all though. Police say that when Joseph's body was found, he was missing one of his eyes. A bloody knife, plate, and fork near the
But do you think he's Sasuke, huh?
body led them to conclude that Matthew had likely consumed the body part before they arrived. According to reports, the Hurtgen brothers came from a wealthy family and grew up in the town of Toms River. The siblings were both soccer stars at their local high school and had each gone on to play in college at Wesleyan University and the University of Michigan. While very few details have been released about what actually unfolded in the family's high-end apartment that night, what we do know is that authorities are investigating whether Matthew may have been suffering some kind of mental health breakdown prior to the the crime. In the months leading up to the horrifying incident, he reportedly posted incredibly unsettling and graphic poetry to his Facebook profile. Some of that poetry included descriptions of blood oozing out of eyes and, quote, knives sharpening. The 31-year-old also posted a now chilling image of himself just the day before the killing, showing himself lying on the floor next to a cat toy. After being taken into custody, Matthew was charged with first-degree murder and animal cruelty, as well as related weapons offenses. Following his first court appearance this week, he reportedly tried to take his own life in the jail cell where he was being held, though staff at the facility...
now he want to take his own life. He should have unalived himself before he even did the crime. That would have saved that would have saved everything if he want to unalive himself. I hate it when people unalive other people. Then after they unalive other people, they will then want to unalive themselves when they in like jail or a holding cell. No, you should have unalived yourself way before you did any crime. Before you decide to just touch anybody and unalive anybody, you should have unalived yourself first. Whenever you start getting them thoughts of unaliving people, think about unaliving yourself first. That's going to save everybody the time. Everybody the time and the day and the hurt. But no, now he want to unalive himself after he unalived his brother.
He figured out what was going on in time. According to local media, other than a 2017 drunk driving arrest and a few traffic tickets, Matthew Hurtgen had never been in trouble with the law before this week. So far, no motive behind the crime has been confirmed, and the situation is still under investigation.
Authorities in the city of Keene, New Hampshire say that a young woman is facing charges this week following the discovery of a revolting series of crimes in which she allegedly urinated on food products at a local grocery store where she was employed. According to police, the whole thing started on February 14th when they were contacted by a concerned member of the public. The anonymous tipster alerted them to a young woman who seemed to be specializing in a rather unique and stomach-churning form of content creation. In short, she was making videos of herself secretly pissing on items at the grocery store where she worked. After launching an investigation, police were able to identify the woman as 23-year-old Kelly Tedford. Through this, they were also able to...
Yep. This is a good one right here. Now, out of all the things you could have done in the world while on work, like, was she making fetish videos? She looked like the type to be in a furry costume.
Determined that the store in question was the Monadnock Food Co-op, where she was an employee. Upon passing along the unfortunate and disgusting news to the store's management, the company estimated they incurred roughly $1,500 in costs between cleaning expenses and ruined products that Tedford is accused of contaminating. However, it's unclear if this figure also factors in a recall they were also forced to do because of the incident. The co-op reportedly issued an alert to customers, advising them they were recalling organic quinoa, cornmeal, polenta, coconut shreds, and raw walnuts, all items which Tedford presumably gave the golden shower treatment to as well. As if all of this weren't bad enough, apparently the 23-year-old's proclivities weren't limited to her place of employment. Police say they are still investigating Tedford's trove of videos, which appear to show her peeing on produce, surfaces, and other objects in a number of other locations in multiple communities. These videos allegedly date back as far as 2021. Tedford was arrested on February 21st and is currently facing a charge of criminal mischief. However, authorities have stated that more charges are possible as the investigation continues.
Now that's disgusting. Nah, that's disgusting. You don't do that. Why don't you buy food and then do it to your own food? Why would you do it to other food that people are about to buy? Why would you do that? Disgusting.
I'm on major drugs. We can't rob the plug. Someone touch that man and he'll be dodging us. Gotta get that fix. Drowning in the six. Why they dissing tricks? I get high up fit. I'm gon' put the gang onto some bread before a bitch. I'm probably gon' pass the ball before I make a hit. She know my name on wait inside the streets, a nigga lit. She know I got it all, she wanna live just like a kid. But I can't take no chance with no bitch that make me sick. I came in with bands and the sticks and no